Welcome back, folks. This is a special. It's a WP-Tonic special, and we're going to be doing this on a regular basis, hopefully the first and last Wednesday of the month. I've got Haroon with me from Happy Cloud. Haroon helps me with all the kind of marketing automation jobs on the WP-Tonic platform. He's agreed to come on with me to do this series of videos. Haroon, would you like to introduce yourself to the WP-Tonic tribe?
Certainly. First and foremost, thank you for having me on your podcast, and it's a great show that you've got going. I've in the past had a chance to watch a few episodes, and it's pretty good. So kudos. Regarding me, I've been working in the development and design and marketing industry for the past over 2 decades, and with WordPress for the past around 14 years. I started off in 2008 when I got my college website project to do as a chance, and I researched CMSs to build it with, found WordPress, fell in love, and I've been hooked ever since.
That's great. And in this special, we're going to be discussing CRMs. CRMs specifically that are suitable if you have a membership website and you're looking to utilize marketing automation to promote your membership website, or to use it to keep your students engaged on your membership platform. Now, Haroon, I just want to start with this. I personally think the title CRMs can be a little bit confusing because there's definitely different types of CRMs out there. There's some CRMs like Salesforce, as an example, that are designed for a sales team, where there's other CRMs that are definitely more aimed at marketing. And then there's some that are a hybrid. They're a bit sales focused and they're also marketing focused. First of all, would you agree with that basic statement?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. So we're specifically going to be looking at some of the leaders, not all of them, because we'll be here forever. We plan to keep this to about 30 minutes. Like I say, I probably am going to turn it into a podcast, and it definitely is going to be on the YouTube channel. And I'll make sure there's a full set of supporting notes with all the links of the CRMs that we're going to be talking about. So we're specifically going to be talking about CRMs that are more focused on the marketing side and that can be used for a membership website. And the other thing, this world of CRMs now include quite a few traditional just email marketing platforms, because most of them have adopted some level of marketing automation in their platforms. So let's start with one of the most popular CRMs on the market at the present moment, and I would say that's ActiveCampaign. Okay. So what would you, Haroon, say are some of the strengths and some of the weaknesses that you have found in your extensive knowledge and usage of ActiveCampaign?
Regarding the strengths, first and foremost would be just the sheer amount of integrations available for it with other SaaS platforms, for which in certain other platforms you have to end up using something like Zapier. With ActiveCampaign, that's generally not the issue. And among other strengths, just the feature set, just the sheer feature set, because it's not exactly built for a particular niche or a particular sort of scale of businesses. They sell to big corporates and small to medium-sized businesses alike. So pretty much everything in terms of marketing automation, everything under the everything that can be done. Generally, in one way or the other, you can somehow do with it. But now that brings us to the weaknesses. First and foremost, the user experience. Not for the end users who who just see a form, and not for our clients either, because hey, we do everything for them. But for us, for the users of the system, for those who implement the system, it can become quite a nightmare to navigate, to scale. And if you haven't used more user-friendly platforms, maybe you don't feel it because of not knowing any better. That was the case with me in the past. But once you do use those more user-friendly ones, building a funnel in ActiveCampaign is more like, it's like the word that you used.
Active confusion.
Oh yes, active confusion is the perfect term for it, yes.
Yeah, quite. That's, I haven't got the experience that you have. That's why I hire you. And I have to fill many hats in the WP-Tonic company. But my experience of it can rapidly become very complicated. I've seen, there's one guy, he wasn't actively going to hire WP-Tonic. He was just an associate, and he had an electrical engineering background. And he was quite successful on online marketing, running his own course. He was doing around $15,000 a month through his course. And he showed me some of his marketing automatizations through ActiveCampaign. And it made total sense to him, but it was literally looking at a wiring diagram for a restaurant or a small factory. There were links and it was literally a wiring diagram, and it made perfect sense to him, but it didn't make any sense to me at all. And that's what I think you can quite quickly end up with, especially if a tip is you've got to be religious in your naming conventions and writing extensive notes on the platform externally, because even if you've done it, it's quite easy to come back to it about after 6 months and have absolutely no idea how you set it up. Would you agree with that?
I was just going to say that if you hadn't said it, I would have said it. And even 6 months, that's what came to my mind. It has happened, actually. I've built something for a client. In less than 6 months, I go back and I just absolutely cannot recognize what's going on. And like, you can spend hours looking at a funnel trying to decipher it, but until you start taking some notes of every single chain from the very start, at times, depending on the complexity of the funnel, you just can't fathom it. And it's just the flowchart way of designing the funnel that's the bottleneck here. It's great for corporate presentations when you want to show a concept, but when it comes to actually building it, this flowchart way is good enough for like funnels maybe 3-4 steps deep, and with like maximum 2 or 3 decisions at every point, but not any more than that. And you just get lost in the labyrinth of all of those conditions.
Yeah, I think one of its strengths, though, is its documentation. It is extremely well documented. I also think that the support that you will get from them, it depends on the individual that you're dealing with, but in general, my experience of their online and phone support has been pretty good. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. They're a big company with very decent funding and a lot of revenue, so they can afford to. And a lot of companies can afford to, but they don't. But these guys, they do take support seriously. So yes.
I think one of its weaknesses is also if you're going to use it as an email a newsletter platform, plus the marketing automation. As the email platform, the newsletter, it's templates, and it might be slightly out of date, but its newsletter templates and its way of building one wasn't fantastic. Is that still the case?
It is. It certainly is. When I last used it to build an email template, it was. I mean, it gets the job done, but that's pretty much it. But fortunately, in terms of most of my clients, I end up convincing them on the benefits of keeping the emails as simple as possible, avoiding columns like multi-column layouts to the maximum extent possible, avoiding text with photo backgrounds. So just more like a linear flow of like full width images, and then followed by headings, more images, no inline, like no columns, no multiple blocks of side-by-side text. Keeping it as simple as possible, because then there is the receiving email clients or the receiving email servers tend to see it as closer to a personally composed email than to a newsletter email. So the chances of it landing in inbox rather than promotions becomes improved. So yeah, there's that.
And I think lastly, I think when it comes to a membership site, I think as long as you keep the funnels reasonably simple, it will do a good job. But I think the other factor is that if you get to a certain level, it can rapidly become quite expensive. What depends on what you're comparing it. If you come from Infusionsoft or some of the kind of quasi enterprise level CRMs, you're not going to be that upset by the pricing. But if you come from a lower level, like from MailChimp going up, you're going to and your list is growing quite quickly. It's going to become quite expensive, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And that's often the case where my clients contact me that, hey, our bill for Keep, what used to be Infusionsoft, or ActiveCampaign it's just going way overboard. And often if they've themselves built the funnels, they haven't really optimized them, they haven't really hired a good marketing strategist, then they're not really getting their money's worth either in terms of leads, in terms of potential sales. So yeah, that's when they want to transition into something that does the same job, but it's cheaper. And often they're interested in something in which they don't have to pay based on the number of contacts, because that doesn't always translate to their revenues. So that's when other options, like more like self-hosted options, also come in.
Yeah. So let's go on to the next one. ConvertKit. What's your experience and your attitude towards ConvertKit?
I haven't used it in quite a bit, to be honest. I think it was quite a few years back when I last used it on a client project. But overall, like based on whatever little experience I had with it, it wasn't exactly something special that would be memorable. So that speaks a lot.
My experience of it and the way they managed to get traction is that they really aimed it at the blogging individual, the individual that's making between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. ConvertKit had, which is another failing of ActiveCampaign, is that its forms can be, the native forms can be quite ugly. ConvertKit provided a library of forms and a plugin that really worked quite well with WordPress to link forms and logic bars and all the kind of modern way of trying to get people's names and emails. They provided that in one central area, where with ActiveCampaign, their form generation and their integration into WordPress has always been not fantastic. But it hasn't been a problem because there's been a number of either form plugins or third-party pop-up and other marketing-focused plugins that have provided the functionality that you're looking for, plus they integrated with ActiveCampaign. But it was another thing that you had to pay. Where with ConvertKit, they provided that, and the interface was much easier to follow. My experience of it, the actual, when you start getting into more elaborate marketing, and it tends not to be the tool of choice. But depending on what kind of marketing automation, if it's just going to be basic marketing automation with just you running it on your own, it's probably going to be a much more easier environment than ActiveCampaign, I would say, where ActiveCampaign, unless you're prepared to dive deep, you'll probably be best to hire somebody like us or Haroon to help you out, because you're going to spend many hours trying to learn the thing. What do you reckon of that? Do you think I'm reasonably on target what I've said about ConvertKit?
Oh, absolutely. And yes, when you were mentioning it, I recall their WordPress plugin, the official one. It did a pretty good job compared to those of these platforms like ActiveCampaign. But now that a vast majority of users are utilizing something like Elementor to build their sites. So Elementor forms, they have native integrations with a lot of these platforms. And so that barrier to entry of having to purchase another plugin, like previously there was Bloom by Elegant Themes, and Opt-in Monster was pretty popular. And then the one by the team behind Astra,
ConvertKit.
Convert Pro, no?
Convert Pro, yes, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So yeah, and that was a pretty good piece of software for back in the day, but it's been a while since I have had to use either of these or native integrations, because it's for basic forms for the past couple of years, it's just been Elementor forms, and for more advanced forms where Elementor just wouldn't cut it, then it's been Gravity forms. And with these two, I mean, you can do pretty much anything that can be done on WordPress using forms. I haven't had the need to even try something else. And yes, now we have Fluent Forms, which is
which we're going to,
yep,
we won't,
pretty
yeah.
good.
The other factor is it's not the cheapest. It's price-wise, it's very similar to ActiveCampaign. Well, actually, if you get into the larger list, ConvertKit will be more expensive, actually. It knows its target audience, and it's aimed at that power blogger that's making money from their blog, not the person that's just making a couple of $100, somebody that's making a couple of $1,000 plus a month from their blog. And now on to another one, Drip. What was your knowledge of Drip, and what's your thoughts about Drip?
Oh, Drip was like, I think they were the ones who introduced the whole idea of drip campaigns, wasn't it, back in the day? And it was all the rage. I think no one else was doing drip campaigns when they started. They named it after that. But in my own personal experience, which isn't reflective of the industry at large, I haven't had to use it in several years. We started moving over to Mautic, which was still is free and open source It's like WordPress. There's an org version and there's a .com version, which is like hosted, and you just buy it as a service. And the org version, you can just download it. So we moved over to that from Drip, and it used to get the job done without us having to pay based on the number of subscribers or based on the number of emails to be sent. And it integrated with services like SCS, Amazon SCS, or pretty much any sending service. So other than being one of the pioneers in the industry of marketing automation, I don't think it's that different or it has any edge over any of the competitors at this stage. Most of them have, like, it's been commoditized. This service has pretty much been commoditized across two to three different segments. One is the whole big enterprise segment. The other is SMBs and sort of prosumer segment, and the third one is just at the entry level people who are trying to make it somewhere. So yeah, within these segments, they are pretty much commoditized. Not a lot of differences.
Yeah, I think Roland, I think when he, I'm not sure I'm getting his name right. He does the Startup for the Rest of Us podcast, and he's well known in the Bootstrap startup community. He was one of the founders, Rob Rawlins, sorry, folks.
Right.
And he's a great guy. I've got the technical founder with him. I've forgotten his name, but they sold it to Lead Pages. And I think Lead Pages, I think it kind of started to drift, and then they focused it. If you go to it, its focus is around e-commerce, and that's their marketing. I haven't used it for quite a while. When it first, like what you said, Haroon, when it first got started, it had a lot of features that the competition didn't have, but it no longer is on the front of marketing automation, to my mind. Right. And because it's focused at e-commerce and I specialize in membership sites, I haven't used it for quite a while. So what I think we're saying about it is, unless there's a real specific reason why you would use it, either you got a really good special deal or there's something that makes you want to have to use it. We just don't feel it's the best tool if you've got a membership site. So would you agree with that, Haroon? Right.
Absolutely.
Now, another really old, it's been around quite a while, but I haven't used it for a while myself, is AWeber. What would you say about AWeber?
AWeber is, I'm trying to recall when did I actually last use it, or if I've last used it. I don't think I have ever actually deployed in it. There was once a project in which they had something in AWeber, and we ended up not replicating it or anything. We just ended up with that client building something from scratch, utilizing new ideas that we had brainstormed. So I don't even recall logging into the system.
Yeah, I think it's a very established, respected platform.
Oh, yes.
I think I would put it in the same bucket as Drip. Is that it's not on the cutting edge. There's nothing about its functionality, what it offers, apart from maybe price.
Yes.
I know a couple of clients that do some of their marketing through ActiveCampaign and then do some other through AWeber because of the price of ActiveCampaign. But I think they could find more better solutions than having just to use another platform, because ActiveCampaign is too expensive. But
Agreed.
basically that's it. You know, there's nothing wrong with it if you can get it for the right price. But on the other hand, there's better platforms out there if you've got a membership website. Now let's go to like the big daddy of email marketing. What's your thoughts around MailChimp?
Oh, yes. So in my experience, and yes, among all of these platforms, apart from Infusionsoft and ActiveCampaign, and to an extent, Campaign Monitor as well, apart from these three, the most experience I've had, and probably more than these three, the most experience I've had in client sites has been with MailChimp, because pretty much everyone at the entry level, they end up starting off with MailChimp. They have done an amazing, amazing job at marketing themselves and establishing their overall market position, market share. It's like it has become sort of the de facto email marketing solution for bloggers, for e-commerce sites when they start. Anyone starts their site. Even I remember small WordPress theme shops, when we didn't have page builders or page builders weren't as robust, theme shops had their own themes that weren't all that customizable, and they often included their own widget for newsletter subscription. And usually those widgets were like built by that theme shop for their themes. They didn't have a lot of options. The theme shop could be just one or two people building themes from their home. And one integration that they all had in common, no matter whether they'd have any other integration or not, was MailChimp. So that speaks a lot. It was like the de facto one. And for what it does, it gets the job done really, really well. But the moment you want to get, the moment your list grows substantially, or the moment you want to build any an automation of any reasonable complexity. I'm not talking about those hugely complex monster flowcharts in ActiveCampaign or Keep. I'm just talking about something as simple as maybe a few conditions here, some logic there. So the moment you want to do that, you start seeing its limitations. It has decent enough entry-level automation, yes, but nothing beyond that. So that's when you start to look for something that can go beyond it. And often, in case of most of my clients, I've had them transition over to, the first transition from MailChimp usually happens towards MailPoet, which is a WordPress self-hosted solution, but it does, it's less of a learning curve for them. It does a lot of things similarly, but it does a few things more efficiently, and it does it within the WordPress dashboard, and it's far cheaper. It does it for far, far less. But for those with more needs, we usually make a transition to other platforms. So yeah, it's great for what it does.
So they've been trying to build out their marketing automation functionality. Last time I delved into it, time goes so quick. It must almost over 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago, which in internet terms is like 5 years. And it was very, very basic. How, I don't know if you've had to log into it recently. Are they still struggling to build out their market? Oh, they are they?
The last time I checked, it was like 6 months back or so, when transitioning a client over to WordPress native tools. And yes, it was very, very limited.
Yeah. It's quite surprising how long it's taken them, really. I was expecting them to be a lot more aggressive, but I think there must be factors. It certainly can't be the money side of it, because they're a highly profitable company. It must be just other factors that have made it harder, slower to build out. So there's a couple of people you mentioned before we go on to the next one on my list. And I forgot to mention it, is Campaign Monitor, Australian company. I actually use that because I'm lazy, because I've been with them so long. And I have a newsletter where I send a newsletter, and it's a very visual newsletter. They are a very respected company based in Sydney, Australia. It's another company that I think has been very slow to build out their marketing automation. In some ways, it's a similar situation to MailChimp, but on a totally different side of the market, where with Campaign Monitor, they never offered a free product. It was always for those that were really, one of the criticisms of MailChimp was that its newsletter building interface wasn't that fantastic, and their templates were quite, you could tell that, not obviously with the free service, you could tell because they had MailChimp all over it, but even if you were paying the pro version, you could tell that they were using MailChimp, where with Campaign Monitor, that their template and the building engine was always much more sophisticated.
Yes.
But you paid for it. But one of the problems with Campaign Monitor is that, like MailChimp, that they've been very slow to move into the marketing automation side of it. Would you agree with that, Aaron?
Absolutely, yes. In this area, both of these have been lagging behind, but I've got to give it to them on this, that the core focus has been on newsletters primarily, first and foremost. Yeah. And both of these have been doing that really, really well for their target audiences, for their respective target audiences. Campaign Monitor had more of the sort of prosumer plus prosumer and business, like SMB and even the corporate sector as their target audience, while MailChimp, they, as you mentioned, with their free version, that was their low barrier of entry for the hobby blogger and mom and pop store owners. So low barrier of entry, good enough selection of templates for those people who didn't really want to get into a lot of template customization. They just wanted to replace the titles and replace the placeholder image and get the newsletter out.
I think with MailChimp, their target audience was the constant contact user in a way, because I wasn't going to mention constant content on this, but they are a publicly traded company on the American Stock Exchange. They still have hundreds of thousands of users, but I wasn't even going to mention it because it's been years and years since I've been forced to use something like constant contact, because I just think it's totally out of date. Would you agree with that?
It is. But even now, like just this last year, I transitioned a client from Constant Contact over as well. So yeah, it is being used among, usually in my experience, what I've noticed is those still sticking around with it are the types of business owners who are very reluctant to change things. So they have their way of doing things and they're just comfortable with it. Even if something is better, they just want it done their way. And it's a matter of familiarity for them. A lot of those who are still sticking with it.
And they were, and they also might, they were very, it was possible to get some great special deals out of them, especially in the non-profit area. They were very active in the courtship of non-profits. They used to do a lot of face-to-face webinars, which they would have an expert going around area doing small group meetings, and they were very active pushing it with non-profits. I don't know if they still are. That's one of their models. Now, one that's increasingly become popular, and it competes with MailChimp, is MailerLite. It's a French company.
Yes.
it actually offers a better deal. One of the problems with MailChimp is when you get to that 2,000 limit and you have to then start paying, the jump gets quite expensive quite rapidly, doesn't it?
Tasty, yes.
Where MailerLite offers a free platform level, and it's much more generous than MailChimp. And in some ways, I actually think it's better than MailChimp, but I've never delved into its marketing automation. Is it similar to MailChimp that its actual marketing automation isn't that effective? Or do you have any knowledge around it?
So this one I've heard great things about for quite a while, but ever since I started transitioning clients towards WordPress or based or self-hosted solutions, I haven't had the occasion to try any new ones that came out afterwards, because generally the clients are on something like MailChimp. So instead of transitioning them over to MailerLite, I end up transitioning them over to something like MailPoet, or in one or two cases, Mailster, which is to MailPoet what MailerLite is to MailChimp.
Right. And like I say, I've got one friend who was asking, I said, why don't you look at MailerLite? And now I think she's been using it for about 5 years now. And I think she's paying for it because she grew into the paid. But I think their free level, I think it's 5,000 compared to 2,000 users. With both of these, you can send unlimited email. It's the head count where they get you. Now, yes. One that's not on my list, we're going to go into the WordPress self-hosted area now. And one that wasn't on my list that recently got bought out by Automatic is MailPoet. So, but I still think it's still available, isn't it? You can still buy it, can't you?
Yes, you can.
Like you say, a lot of people look at MailPoet. We provide it in our stack because we provide it with one of the other native CRMs, which we're going to talk about, which is FluentCRM. We offer MailPoet for the newsletter functionality, and then we offer FluentCRM for the actual marketing automation. And FluentCRM provides a plugin so it will talk to MailPoet, and that's why we provide both. But there's a lot of people that just buy into MailPoet. So what do you think is its strengths and its weaknesses, Haroon?
In terms of strengths, first and foremost, being self-hosted, you're not limited to being charged based on the number of emails you send through it. In fact, you don't even have to use it for as the email sending service, even though they do provide their own sending service. I use it with Amazon SCS as the sending service, and it works brilliantly. Secondly, the free version is like full featured compared to many other plugins where there are limitations to the free versions. Up to a number of contacts, till up to a number of contacts, you can use all the pro features for free. But when you exceed that number of contacts, then you have to purchase the pro version to benefit from the pro features. And in terms of other strengths, just being WordPress native, like you don't have to log into another system as a client to start composing your newsletter. It can get the job done from within WordPress. That is a very, very good factor. And pricing, just a flat fee per year for the pro version, regardless of the number of subscribers you have. I think it was 149 or 99. I think it was $199, which is like pretty good. It's like less than $20 a month, even if you have like 1 million subscribers. you don't have to worry about the exorbitant fees you'd have to pay to MailChimp. So that's why it's been like I've made the most transitions from any CRM or marketing automation suite to any other. The most transitions I've made for my clients over the years have been from MailChimp to MailPoet. And pretty much all of them have been super happy.
I just want to clarify, are we talking about where you provide the service that actually sends out the email? Because I know with MailPoet, they provide their own sending out service, which is probably they're using Amazon web services, but they provide their own interface over that. Is that 199? That's not including utilizing their email sending out? No, it isn't.
No, the 199 is the price for their pro version if you have more than 2,000 subscribers. And utilizing the pro features like their WooCommerce automations and their welcome emails used to be part of the pro features. Now they are free. And so they offer three, basically. You can use it in three ways. Firstly, just the free version without their sending service with your own sending service of choice. Then you can use just the pro version without their sending service if you have more than 2,000 subscribers, or you can use it with their sending service, and then you don't need to purchase the pro version because the pro version's price is included in what you pay for using their sending service. So they're making money that way, so they don't make you buy the $200 pro version if you are using their sending service. And their sending service has brackets based on the number of subscribers you have. So there's
it's
that
a bit complicated. It's a bit complicated in reality, isn't it? Trying to explain this to the average client, you can see their eyes glazing over quite rapidly, can't you?
Yes. So that's why usually.
Go on. Sorry.
That's why usually I help make the decision for the clients based on my assessment of their requirements. And generally, we just buy the $199 paid version for the client and use Amazon SCS as the sending service. It's cheaper and pretty much.
Well, with us, actually, we do the same, but we bought an agency where we bought like a couple hundred seats. It was a special that they were doing on AppSumo, and we bought a ton of licenses. And we just, because we use SendGrid as our, we have a grandfathered account where we can send over 1 million emails per month. One of the benefits of using SendGrid is that they provide sub-accounts. So when you're using Amazon Web Services, one of the problems is it's just one bucket. And the problem with that is if somebody, another client's misbehaviors can affect the whole bucket. And so basically Amazon can turn you off until you sort out a problem and you appeal. Now with SendGrid, you can set up sub-accounts, and if a client gets up to naughty things, which they shouldn't be doing, like buying lists and basically spamming people, SendGrid will switch them off, but they only switch off the sub-account. Obviously, if you get this happening in too many sub-accounts, they will probably turn off the main account. But it does mean that what happens, the misbehavior of one client won't affect all the clients. Correct. And that's one of the reasons why we've stuck with SendGrid. Plus, I have this grandfathered account with them, because they put up their prices quite considerably, didn't they? Yes. SendGrid, didn't they? Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, go on. You tell me what you do.
So what I do to tackle that is for new clients, I may get them started on my SCS account just when setting things up, testing everything. But in the meantime, I get them to set up their own AWS account, and then logging into their account, I apply for raising the SES limits, getting out of sandbox. It's a process that can take a few days to even a few weeks. So in the meantime, during the testing phase, initial build phase, or some transition phase, we just use mine. But as soon as possible, I transition them over. And in the rare cases, 1 or 2 cases where AWS rejected the application, then I just ask them to, I present them with the other options that they can use for sending services, but I never keep them on my account for long.
Because you're doing full, plus the work you do for us, but we're a quasi platform with the freedom of WordPress. So we just set it all up for the client, and we so they don't have to deal with any of this at all. And with our basic level, they get up to 5,000 users, unlimited email on our basic starter plan. So it's a pretty good deal.
Yes, it is, certainly is.
So let's go on to GroundHogg. So what's your thoughts around GroundHogg, its strengths and its weaknesses?
In terms of strengths, that's going to be probably a full session in itself because of just the sheer number of features it offers compared to many other.
Well, we'll probably do a show just on GroundHogg.
Certainly.
Right.
So yeah, lots of strengths in terms of, first and foremost, being WordPress native. So there are no API calls. There are no clunky integrations between different platforms where the moment something starts getting buggy, you can't figure out which end it is. And, you go to the support of one provider and they tell you, no, it's not us, it's them, and vice versa. With GroundHogg, if you have the right skills, it's all within WordPress. You can even debug it yourself without needing to contact support at all. But if you don't, then their support team has been very responsive when it comes to actually providing support for the features they do have. And it covers it ticks all the boxes for me so far for my clients when it comes to being CRM, when it comes to being a marketing automation platform, and when it comes to being a sales platform, not just marketing automation, the sales pipeline. But yeah, when like their sales pipeline and a booking platform with their calendar extension. So you can replace so many services, so many third-party services using one overall cohesive platform which runs on your site, which is the best thing. But yes, one of the limitations of their sales pipeline platform extension that I recently faced was the lack of ability to move deals between stages of the pipeline in funnels automatically. But there are some technical limitations behind that. They are working on improving that as well. So the team is very responsive. They are very ambitious about improving it. And the user experience has been amazing. The funnel building experience, it's like a walk in the park compared to doing the same in something like ActiveCampaign or Keep.
Yeah, I actually, but I don't know if they're going to be changing that. But I actually do, it's due. I do like the, it's a funnel down step by step rather than a flow chart kind of. And I, like yourself, prefer that. What you see as a strength, one of the things that you see as a strength, I actually see as a weakness. And that is that they've tried to, it's not the add-ons that integrate it with other services. It's like what you mentioned about the calendar, and also they provide an add-on that allows you to take payments. I see that as a weakness because basically you're looking for the right word here, Haroon. You're moving into other people's territory, and then because you're doing that, they won't provide, or they won't be so eager to allow such easy integration into their own platform. And that's one of the things that I disagreed with Adrian, the owner of GroundHogg, him doing that. But I understand why he does that and why somebody like yourself really likes that. But I personally see that as a little bit of a weakness, but it's more on the business side of it. But he's always been very proactive in client support. And you said you've always found their support to be very good, haven't you?
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah.
When it comes to fixing problems with their system, any bugs that I've discovered, any issues that I've run into that were because of their end, they've been great. When it comes to implementing feature requests due to limitations I've faced that weren't a part of advertised feature set in the first place, then it's been like at times, even that has been excellent, but at certain other times, like there are features that are requested 2 years back that haven't been implemented yet, and they are quite important features. So it's a hit or miss, yeah, in that regard.
Yeah, I think you're being totally fair there. I think one of the other factors, it's not exactly a problem. It's just that he does provide in a third-party solution, I think it's called MailHawk or Hawk Mail. He provides, with a partner, he provides the sending out of email, because I think where a lot of people get confused, Haroon, is that you buy GroundHogg, but you won't actually send out the email. Either you set it up with Amazon Web Services, email services, or you set it up with a service like SendGrid, but it won't. And there's about 3 to 4 other players in the sending out of email, but it won't send out the email. But unlike where MailPoet were, but on the other hand, explaining the different levels of MailPoet is a nightmare in its own right anyway.
Oh, yes.
Now, just to finish off, because we're getting close to the hour, and thank you for your time, Haroon. But it's gone quick, hasn't it?
Oh, yes. I just realized.
I just realized myself. FluentCRM. It's one of the newer plays. I've been very excited about it because it also works with Fluent Forms,
yes,
which has really exploded. They're from the same company. And also the Fluent team produced their own, I always forget, it's the plugin that you need to connect your native CRM system with your email service. That they provided a free plugin to talk to the two, haven't they? Okay. Which they've offered for free, and it's also excellent. So, what's your thoughts been around FluentCRM?
Oh, it has, you use the right word, exploded. All the WordPress ecosystem has been abuzz with its talk, and they're recently in some competition held at a major publication. They beat not just Elementor in the semifinal rounds, but also WooCommerce in the final round, and that's like huge. I mean, I'm sure the target audience was all WordPress enthusiasts who hang around in the groups. Just the end users, they wouldn't have bothered much. But still, it speaks volumes, because these enthusiasts and these developers or these implementers are the ones who are going to convince their clients to use the tool of their choice. So yes, it speaks volumes about their commitment, about their marketing strategy, and they have proven themselves with the explosion of Fluent Forms. Like, no one knew about it, and all of a sudden there's this form plugin that's starting to put out integration after integration within weeks. I used to follow their roadmap back then when they were new. Big mistake I made. I didn't buy their lifetime deal back then when it was dirt cheap, and now it's far from being dirt cheap. But they left all other form plugins in the dust when it comes to the sheer number of features and integrations they built, and they've done pretty much the same with FluentCRM, and they seem to be on track to do a lot more with it. So,
they really mean business.
Yes.
They seem to really mean business, don't they?
And
you don't really have to buy the pro version of the form. I did, and we offer it as part of our package because I bought the lifetime deals. And I didn't know, but I've just been so impressed with what they've done. Not only with the form plugin, which, to be honest, is a very competitive sector. There's many players, but they still managed to build out. It's just got a very modern interface. And with the pro version, you get a number of templates and some added functionality. But the free version is still amazing as a free product. Similar to Lifter LMS, because I know with Lifter, the paid version, you got the Universal and the Infinity, and the Infinity is just under $1,000. But what people forget about Lifter LMS is with the purchase of a $99 Stripe add-on, you can build a whole course out for $99. And I think you get a reduction where you have to renew the license. And it's the same with Fluent Forms. It's just amazing what you're getting now. When it comes to the CRM, just the free version, but with the paid version, I just think, just to finish up, of what I know you've been kind of diving into it a bit. Have you seen anything that you think are some major weaknesses?
I haven't explored it enough yet to be able to pass any judgment on any of its strengths or weaknesses, because hey, I might just point it out as a weakness right now and tomorrow discover that, oh, the feature was there, I just hadn't discovered it yet. So
hopefully we can talk about it in the months coming.
Certainly.
I think we need to wrap up this because you need to go to bed. I think maybe if you're up to it, maybe we can do a big dive into GroundHogg at the end of this month, because there's a shortage of educational bits, and maybe we can we'll discuss it between us. Maybe we can do a demo where we're setting up how you would use GroundHogg with Lifter LMS. And we can do a session on that. So I think for our target audience, that would be beneficial. So let's wrap this up. Haroon, how can people find out more about you and what you are up to?
Usually by going to my site, but it's been due for an update for quite a while, which is often the case with us. We build sites for others, but our sites, they get neglected most. The site is hqraja.com, and then there's the company site happy.cloud, where they can sign up to get updated when we publicly launch, because we've been in the pre-launch stage. We've just been getting referrals from existing clients and our network, so we haven't had the occasion to fully launch yet. We haven't reached that scale yet, but yes, they're going to get updates on that. And I also have my show that I'm going to resume very soon. It's hq.show is the website. So it's like a podcast to talk about basically tech, business, marketing, the whole shebang.
Yeah. Well, Haroon, you like to say Haroon's going to be joining us like twice a month, and we're going to be delving deep in all aspects of marketing automation. I've really enjoyed our chat, and we'll see you at the end of this month. And like I say, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get automatic updates. I'm producing a lot of content, plus we have the content with Haroon. It will be a great resource for you. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Thank you, Jonathan. Take care. Bye-bye.